percentage point since January.
The Dow is up 534 points at the open. Vice President J.D. Vance has met with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi, where the government hopes to avoid American tariffs by negotiating a bilateral trade deal.
He seeks to rebalance global trade so that America, with friends like India, can build a future worth having for all of our people together.
The White House says Vance and Modi set the terms for ongoing talks. The Vatican says Pope Francis' coffin will be moved from the chapel at his Santa Marta residence to St. Peter's Basilica tomorrow for public viewing. The funeral will be held Saturday morning. Then cardinals will gather to choose a successor. New York Archbishop Cardinal Timothy Dolan tells CBS Mornings.
They're going to see some mourning, they're going to see some gratitude, they're going to see some hope, and then they're going to see people say, we need to get to work. The Holy Spirit's already chosen the next pope. Our job is to find out who it is.
Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil helped his wife deliver their first baby remotely from a detention center in Louisiana. CBS's Michael Wallace.
Khalil's lawyers had asked for a 2-week furlough to New York so he could be there for the birth of his son, but ICE would only allow him to be on the phone with his wife. Khalil, who organized pro-Palestinian rallies at Columbia University, was arrested last month and deemed a threat to U.S. foreign policy.
The Supreme Court is hearing arguments right now in a religious rights case involving LGBTQ books in public schools. CBS's Jan Crawford.
A lot of parents were taking their kids out of the classroom. Now, parents on the other side say not only was it disruptive, but it also was divisive because, these books were supposed to be about inclusiveness. And instead, when parents were taking their kids out of the classroom, that meant it felt the opposite of that it was very divisive.
Beyonce's mom, Tina Knowles' new memoir is out today, and in it, she reveals a secret brush with cancer. Knowles tells CBS Morning she'd put off a routine mammogram during the pandemic.
It was stage 1, which I thought was the earliest stage. And then when I told my sister, she said, no, actually, there's a 0. So if I had gone for my mammogram, I would have got it at the 0 stage.
Dow up 534. Bitcoin retakes 90,000. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Whoa. More fiber?
What?
Down here, buddy. It's me, your spoon. Constipation with belly pain still coming back?
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor. It could be irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, but Linzess could help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
The Murfreesboro Fire Rescue Department is going door to door asking for your help in the 2025 special census. The only information they will ask for is your street address, the number of residents living at that address, and their first and last names. That's it, and it only takes a couple of minutes to complete. Information gathered for the special census provides funds to improve our public safety division, and that benefits the entire community. You can also fill out the special census online at murfreesborocensus.com.
AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday morning edition of the Roundtable Show with Rick and Wayne. And good morning, Wayne. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, Brother Rick. I'm good. It's trying to shine outside a little bit.
Better. I'll let the horses out. They're not. I left them up yesterday and they were mad, so they're out. No
yesterday
rain.
Was a really soggy day, and but looking pretty good today. I'm not going to mow yet, so need to dry out a little bit. But tickled that it seems to actually be spring now, and always marvel at how green it is here at the beginning of, spring, and knowing that it's a green it'll still be all year, and that's pretty cool.
That means it's time to start getting the lawnmower out.
Yes, sir. Make sure it's got oil and gas in it.
Yeah, I've already cut 3 times, so there you go. Hey, what about this quarterback situation at UT? Is that not fun to watch or what?
Be careful what you ask for. That's the way I look at it. You go from $2.25 million to now, by the time taxes and everybody's paid, he's making about $800,000. But he's home. Yeah. I get it too. He's
But
at
it's
home.
still absurd that these collegiate ball players make that kind of money. I want them to make some money, but when you have somebody making more than Brock Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant, it's just, I think he's made something like 2-point-something million, and Nico was making 2.5, and had a successful year, but certainly didn't look like a number 1 pick or a 5-star. So I don't know. It's just kind of bizarre to me.
I think we're lacking leaders.
The
NCAA's hands are tied. They get sued if they do one thing. They get sued to the other. So they said we just won't do anything.
Well,
they
are.
Get sued.
They're completely, ineffective.
We fight everything through the courts. I don't know what we do without attorneys and judges, because that's what runs our country for everything now. So
if I recollect correctly, and this may have changed, but at one time, I believe the United States had 5% of the world's population. That may have changed, but maybe 75% of the world's attorneys.
I agree.
So
you can't do without one now.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
At least they want you to think that way, anyways.
I guess so.
And if you don't, they'll sue you for it.
Well, there you go. Brother Rick, this morning, just a great friend, community leader, educator, administrator, coach. I know we wanted to have him on, back some time ago, but he was finally able to make time for us this morning. And Mr. Chairman, you probably worn a few hats in your day, but Chairman of the Murfreesboro City School Board, Butch Campbell. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning,
Campbell.
sir. I'm glad to be here. I was trying to hold out for NIL money, but I just couldn't get
Checks
much
in the
more
mail,
going.
man.
I tried to get Brian to come up with it, but he just wouldn't do it.
Well,
those two are still looking forward too.
Snail
We're
mail
a week
is-
away from 3 years. We still have not seen that check yet.
Now, don't hold your breath.
Well, hey, I love being blue, but I don't want to turn blue. You know what I mean? So, in this first segment, we always get our guests to tell the audience a little about their journey, how they progress through our county community, and of course, you've been a personality for a long, long time, and what I was hoping that during the show that you're the official scorer. Is that your title there on the sidelines at Murphy?
I guess. I've been there a long time.
Well,
I guess it's official.
51 years? Is that what?
Yeah.
I shake my head and just going, wow, because, I go back to middle to 1972 when I started. And, of course, Murphy opened, back. I thought it was November. You thought it was December.
I believe it was I believe it was. And the reason I say that, Wayne, is because for 2 summers, in the summertime, I had to find another job, and for 2 summers, I worked on building Murphy Center.
Okay.
One summer with concrete form erectors, and the next one with Joe M. Rogers, who was a general contractor. And I can remember us having to do some major cleanup. I believe it was on a Sunday before that game, and I was thinking it was December. I don't know. I want to say 2nd or 7th or something.
I'm sure your
But that could be wrong, better. You know, I've been wrong before.
But it was it was a big deal for us in the football team because we dressed under Memorial, and the lockers. You know, I don't know that I know what the upperclassmen, the seniors' locker room looked like, but I can tell you the freshmen and sophomores, our lockers or where we dressed under Memorial was made out of 2x6s, 2x4s, and chicken wire.
I understand.
And then when we moved into Murphy, and had metal lockers with a cubby hole, put your stuff, where to hang your stuff, doors on the locker, a chair out, a little stool out in front of the locker. We thought we were big time.
Well, you were. You had gone from nothing to something big time. Yeah, it was. I'm sure a good improvement, and
It
you
was
were
amazing. Yeah,
ready for it.
Well, and it just made us feel a whole lot better about ourselves too. You know. So, but why don't you talk a little bit about yourself? You know, of course, being an administrator, coach, educator. I mean, gosh, you've had your pinky in a lot of different stuff.
Well, I have. I was born in Murfreesboro at the old Rutherford Hospital over on University Street back in 1945. Went to school. First year I went to school, elementary school, was Critchlow. And then Mitchell Nilsson Elementary opened up, and we went there, and I started there with second grade. And finished there through 8th grade and had some wonderful teachers, principal. In fact, Gilbert Sharon was the principal, and he was also my Little League baseball coach.
Oh, wow.
He and Dick Palmer.
Yeah, yeah.
Dick was kind of I guess maybe a student coming up, I don't know. But anyway, Dick was there with us as well. Then from there, I went to Central High School and graduated from there in 1963. Played in the band. In fact, our band represented Tennessee at the Kennedy inauguration parade.
Wow.
And we went there, and in fact, it snowed 10 inches the night before the parade, and we stood out in the street in that slush for about 2 hours. Several of them got frostbite as a result of it, but
no.
You know, that was the way it was.
So what did you play? I'm sorry.
I played the bass drum.
Okay.
My wife played snare drum, Janie.
Okay.
And that's where we met, really, in the drum section. And Miss Hamp always accused us of hiding behind the bass drum, but that wasn't always the case. But and then from there, I went to Martin Junior College for a year in 1963-64. Jimmy Earl was the basketball coach and our dorm proctor. And I can remember him being there, and Tammy and little Jim and the children. And in fact, I married in January in that first year. So I had to live off campus, and Coach Earl tried to get me kicked out of school one day because he accused me and David Prescott. The tennis court was right outside the dorm window, and a lot of the time the high school kids played tennis there. And he accused us of throwing water balloons out the window on the kids playing tennis. And it wasn't water balloons, actually. It was old dry cleaning bags, a plastic bag we had put a little water in it. But anyway, he took us to the dean.
Oh, goodness.
But the dean wasn't there that day, so I guess that's what saved me and Prescott. But anyway, and then after that semester, I transferred back to Middle, graduated from Middle with a BS degree in elementary education in 1968. My first teaching job was at Bradley, and it was before integration, so it was all black students. And I had some wonderful kids in that class. And in fact, Mr. Hopgood, who was the superintendent of schools, offered me the job, and he said, "Now, Butch, I'm going to tell you, the kids have already run off the teacher. And the sub's been there 2 weeks and won't come back. Do you want the job?" Well, I was married and needed a job, and I said, "Yes, sir, I'll take it." $4,800 a year, first paycheck. And I did. I had some wonderful kids in that. Leo Martin and Jimmy Smith and Ichigo and Barbara, just some great. So I stayed there until 72. when Central High School became Central Middle School. That's when Riverdale and Oakland opened up. And I stayed there for 6 years, coached football, and I coached basketball 1 year at Bradley. And Jeff Jordan, who later on became, he was school board and commissioner, basketball coach at assistant principal at Laverne, and Jeff and I coached the boys basketball team for a year at Bradley. And then after that, in '78, I went to Walter Hill, a school that was K through 6 and had about 400 students in the old building. I stayed there for 31 years and went through some building and some growth. In fact, 1 year we had 1,100 students in that school.
Wow.
And in that, we didn't have a lot of room, so we had 19 portables. So we looked like a portable,
like a mobile home city.
A mobile home city, that's right. Yeah. Well, we had some, and here again, had some wonderful students, had some great teachers. We had a good family atmosphere at school. In 2008, I decided, after persuading Janie to let me do it, I ran for city school board and was elected. And I've been there ever since, each time, and have run. Have been very successful. I became chairman when Mary Wade stepped down in, I believe it was 2014. So that's my journey. We've been there and worked the clock at Middle for 50 years. Was inducted into the TSSAA Hall of Fame. So it's been a good run, Wayne. Really has.
I know the time that I was on the Rutherford County board, we were grateful for your leadership, because the two boards and the two systems had not always worked well together, and kind of a push and a shove, and with your leadership, I thought the two boards were very cooperative, and I felt like the systems followed that example. And of course now the city and the county both have two amazing leaders, so I think we're blessed in so many ways. Growth has its problems, but I think Rick and I have talked to a lot of people over the years that they'd rather have this problem than having the dying communities.
Well, you're right on working together, and of course you were on the county school board. You were chairman, and we got along well together and talked a lot, and tried to solve some problems. Some we did, and some we didn't, I guess. But that's always true. But it's a better working relationship today, I think, than what it has been down through the years.
I think so as well. Well, how did you get involved with keeping the clock?
A young man by the name of Wayne Clendenin was doing the clock, and Wayne made a major mistake one night. Last second shot, he stood up and from the scorer's table, and I don't remember whether he said it was good or whether it was bad, but the official said just the opposite. Now, I don't know whether that's what got Wayne gone or not, but I took it after that. Janie's daddy, Bob Abernathy, was at the university, field replacement, and I was officiating high school basketball at the time, and he asked me if I thought I might like to do it, and I said yes. He said, well, let's see if we can get it done. So I applied for it, and sure enough, they let me do it, and I've been doing it ever since.
So I don't know that I knew that you had officiated.
Yeah, I officiated the high school basketball and football for 30 years.
Okay.
In fact, Rick was talking about Jamestown. I can remember going to Jamestown, and we covered an area as far south as Rutherford County and as far north as Pickett County, Byrdstown, Jamestown, Clark Range, Sparta, Livingston Academy, all up in that area. So,
not to get off topic, but when I played back in the late 60s and early 70s at Smyrna, and we'd go to Lafayette and Hartsville and some of these smaller towns, you know, any thief could have had a heyday in those, because everybody came to the ball game. I mean, Hartsville was always at capacity. You know, when we played them there, or, you know, I'm trying to remember Lafayette as much, but Harry Flippin, I played football with at Middle, you know, came from Lafayette, and I think Dean Fisher was actually the coach at Lafayette, and he became my offensive line coach at Middle. So it's just you got to see Americana at its best.
You did.
When you did
and
those
you were
football.
right. They did. The people turned out a lot. But I guess maybe that some small towns, that was what they did on Friday night, and they sure games there.
Yeah.
You know, Gary Rankin was at Carthage for a few years before he came to Riverdale. So and I got to know Gary there, and then of course at Riverdale too. So it's been a good journey, Wayne. I've enjoyed it. I can't complain. Some good times and some bad times, but we were talking about Jamestown. Jerry Lincoln and I one night, the weather was not good. It had snowed, and we went to, it may have been Jamestown, way up there. And they were supposed to play somebody close by within about 10 miles, and it had snowed. Jerry and I drove up there in my little Volkswagen and got there, and the other team said they couldn't get there. This was district tournament game, so we made the trip for nothing, turned around and came back home.
Oh, goodness.
They played the next day, but I couldn't go back. I was in school, so.
You talked earlier snow, and it got me thinking. So that's a pretty good honor that your high school band, Central High School, went and played at the inaugural parade for President Kennedy. I think if Stewart's Creek just went for.
They did.
President Trump.
They had a little different experience than we did, though, because
it was just as cold, though. I guess
it
it's
was
not
cold,
as snowy. Yeah,
they postponed the major parade, didn't they?
They sure did.
The weather, and
they moved it inside.
But they marched inside. In fact, I talked to Blair, what's principal?
Oh, Harold.
Harold.
Yeah. Clark.
Clark Harold, yeah. I talked to Clark. Clark grew up with my boys. He's the same age as my oldest. And I called him when I found out they were going and just wished him good luck. And, you know, did they need financial help and so forth and so on. And I talked with him several times, and I was glad. I made sure I watched it on TV. I wanted to make sure I saw what they did. They did a good job. They represented us very well.
I agree. So what was it like? Did y'all do a train or buses? How did y'all go up there?
We've talked about that. I think we went to the inauguration. I don't remember whether it was by bus or by train. We also went up to Washington for the cherry blossom. And one time we went by train and one time we went by bus. And the time we went by train, we loaded here in Murfreesboro. We had 4 cars, I guess, 3 cars for the people and 1 car for all the instruments and the luggage and all. And myself and a couple of others were in charge of that extra luggage car, I guess, and instruments and all. So we had to make sure we got it all packed in there. But rode the train up there, and then a bus line picked us up at the train station, took us to the hotel, and stayed there. And it was cold. My goodness, it was cold.
Another famous...
And we all got a personal invitation to the inaugural ball, which I've got that at home. It's framed, and it was a great experience. It really was. And we were told we should not turn our head and look at President Kennedy, though, when we marched by him.
Really?
But that didn't work.
Yeah.
You know, we're high school students. We're going to look around and see what's going on much as we can.
Sure. I remember back maybe around that time or before that time, Isaac Lytton had a huge band back in the day, and I think maybe they went to the Rose Bowl parade or something.
They went somewhere.
Like that.
They were, I guess, our biggest competition.
Right.
Isaac Lytton and Murfreesboro Central.
Yes, sir.
Yes, they did go to. Now we also went to the Gator Bowl, Tangerine Bowl. Middle played in the. Was it Tangerine Bowl? Middle played in.
I think so.
Yeah. We were there for that one, but we had some good trips, some really good trips. But it was different. It was a lot of work. We had to draw out the routines every week, and you had to place every member of that band at every spot they were supposed to be in when they stopped. So, but anyway, it was a learning experience. Miss Hamilton was our band director, and she was a strict disciplinarian. Well, I'm telling you, people don't forget Miss Hamp.
I understand.
You band people were kind of wild and crazy at times anyway, wasn't it?
Well, we all had a good time, but other kids had a good time too. But we had several of us that are still people in the community. Eddie Ayers was in the drum section, Jerry Hawk. We had a girl who moved in named Pat Boone, and she was also in the drum section, but others in the other parts of the band. So it was a good group to be with.
Good deal. We're going to take our first break. You listen to Murfreesboro City Schools Chairman Butch Campbell, but we're going to take our first break. Be right back with you in a second.
The Murfreesboro Fire Rescue Department is going door to door asking for your help in the 2025 special census. The only information they will ask for is your street address, the number of residents living at that address, and their first and last names. That's it, and it only takes a couple of minutes to complete. Information gathered for the special census provides funds to improve our public safety division, and that benefits the entire community. You can also fill out the special census online at murfreesborocensus.com.
Stress about insurance. That's why Ray Call at Rayburn Insurance is here to make sure you have the right coverage without all the hassle. He'll work hard to provide you with personalized service and finding the best solutions for you and your family. Whether you're looking for auto, home, or business insurance, Rick Hall's got you covered. Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency. Let him handle the details so you can focus on what really matters.
William is one of millions of Americans who uses GoodRx to save on the cost of their prescriptions.
My oldest daughter, Camilla, 2 days old, she had to have open heart surgery. All of a sudden, she's on 5 different medications. It adds up at the end of the month. Me and the pharmacist got so tight. She said, GoodRx save you a lot of money. Saving that extra $200-300 a month. We're able to do all these extra activities, so it puts less stress on our household, and it puts less stress on our pockets.
Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com and start saving today. GoodRx user compensated for their time. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance.
This is Betsy Maples with Maples Realty and Auction. Auctions are such a fun and easy way to buy real estate. We've got lots coming up. Don't miss out on this one.
Check out the absolute auction of a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home with a fenced-in backyard right in the heart of Murfreesboro. The home needs some TLC, but it's full of potential. Be there Thursday, April 24th at 4 p.m. More information at maplesrealtyandauction.com or call 615-896-4740.
Maples Realty and Auction.
Sold by Maples Realty and Auction.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and AmeriCare Pest Control.
This is a paid legal ad.
Hi, this is John Day of the law offices of John Day. For more than 30 years, my team and I have worked hard to help injured people throughout Middle Tennessee. Over that time, we've helped thousands of people get the legal help they need when they've needed it the most. And if we're not able to help or aren't the right lawyer for you, we'll do the best to point you in the right direction. If you've been injured, call the law offices of John Day for a free consultation. And remember, there's no fee unless we win your case.
Now, WGNS Good Neighbor Events. This Saturday is Earth Day. I want to keep reminding you of that one. Don't miss it. Earth Day. Put that on your calendar. That is a must-attend event, and it's all free. Remember, the Red Cross is critically low on blood. Give the gift of life at the Red Cross. Want to remind you the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast is Thursday, May 1st 6:30 in the morning at MTSU's Student Union Building Ballroom. That's Thursday morning, May 1st. But you need to get the tickets now. You can do it online at Greenhouse Ministries' website. The Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, Thursday morning, May 1st. Saturday brings the Murfreesboro Breakfast Rotary Club's annual Borough Barbecue Fest. It's over at Hop Springs. That's the Borough Barbecue Fest this Saturday. Plus, Saturday is Cannonsburg's Pioneer Days. So 2 more events not to miss this Saturday: the Rotary Club's Borough Barbecue Fest at Hop Springs and Cannonsburg's Pioneer Days. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms possible late this afternoon. Partial sunshine develops, a high in the upper 70s. Tonight, cloudy, low 57. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 59.
Rutherford County's 24th annual Earth Day celebration is Saturday, April 26th, 10 to 2 on the Murfreesboro Square. Middle Tennessee Electric is proud to be the primary sponsor and organizer. Free fun for the whole family, April 26th on the Square. rcearthday.com for more info.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
And welcome back to the second segment of Tuesday Mornings with Rick and Wayne. And certainly our pleasure this morning to have a great friend, community leader, Mr. or Chairman Butch Campbell. And we've had some fun already this morning with some nostalgia, going back into some early history. Don't want to change those horses, but would like to talk about some of your past, being on the sidelines there at Murph, especially since you've been there 51 years. I've been gone from there. Well, I started there in '72, so it's been a minute as well.
Well, we've had some good time, had some good coaches. I can remember a lot of them. I guess Larry Joe Inman, the one that was coached Lady Raiders for a long time.
Yes, sir.
He and I still remain friends. Of course, Coach Earl.
Even though he tried to get you kicked out of school.
Yeah.
You have a forgiving heart. But
well, got to. My wife, Janie, was one of the people that checked tickets at the door when Ramrod Simpson was coaching. In fact, his wife, Betty, was teaching at Walter Hill when I went there. And Janie did also cross-stitch, and the boards were kind of a metal, I guess, silver. Anyway, the light was hitting that board and reflecting right in Ramrod's eyes. Well, it didn't take long for the policeman to come up and tell her she had to put that board up because it was bothering Ramrod. That was an eventful night one night. But of course, a lot of the other coaches that have been there, Diane was Cummings at the time, is Turnham now, of course, was assistant with Larry Joe. I've made some wonderful friends down through the years, through the officials, coaches from the high school teams that have come in there to play at state tournament. And of course, I refereed for some of them too in their home gyms when I was doing that. But Lamar Rogers is one that I can remember. The boy up at Fulton, Knox Fulton. So it's been a good experience.
Senator Jim Tracy officiated for a number of years as well.
He did, and I'm good friends with Jim. We talk several times often. I used to talk to him a lot more when he was in the Senate.
Sure.
But that was all right. I've tried to get Jim to come back and officiate a little bit, but I can't get him to do it, so I don't blame him. He's up in age.
I just don't know how in today's environment that you can attract anybody into officiating with the conduct of some us fans, I guess you could say.
Well, I think that's true. And, the college officials, I'll never forget, it was early November, and I forgot who it was. One of them that came in, and I said, well, it was first of the year, and I said, what kind of schedule you got? He said, Butch, I've got something every night but one night until Christmas. And I think, my goodness, I mean, they're just living out of a suitcase for all that time, and it's a tough road, but and the pay is good, I guess, or they wouldn't do it. But it's strenuous, and when fans get upset, and they got upset when we officiated too. I always tell people you make a call one time, and the people on the right love you, and the people on the left don't like you. And next time, the people on the left love you, and the people on the right don't like you.
Kind of like being an elected leader, isn't it?
Kinda, I guess, yeah. Maybe that's what got me to be able to put up with the public. I don't know, but I've not had any major problems with the public. I've got a few parents that we've talked to, but I think that's all people want. They want somebody they can talk to. They want somebody they can expand on and let off some steam. And I'm sure you have found that in the same way, even in the insurance business.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Talk about some of the, I guess, famous players you've seen. I know when I was there, Fly Williams with Austin Peay was a big name. There was he wasn't a player, but he was a coach, Ron Bargatze.
Yes, sir. I remember, I think he was at Belmont.
I think so, yeah.
I'll never forget one night, he had a fit on the sidelines coaching. And I'll never forget watching him jump up and down and carry on. But, we don't always agree with everything. But Tim Cincinnati,
he was doing he was a freshman and I was a freshman. He came in at the same time I did.
Nowadays, Wayne, the NIL money, I think, is going to ruin college sports.
I think it's already there.
We lost a girl, a starting guard this year from the Lady Raiders team, went somewhere else and got about $300,000 to make the move. Yeah. And I don't know, I guess you can't blame them for it, but man alive. Whew. Yeah. I asked Bobby Gardner not long ago, Bobby kept the scorebook beside me for about 40 years, I think, and he played at Middle. I said, Bobby, what do you think about these kids getting all this money? He said, well, I used to get paid. I said, well, what? He said, I got $2 enough for a meal ticket. And that was it. And some of them are making a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, I'd love to see some limits. I'd love to see that the portal was only open except when you had a coaching change. I'd love to see the portal open in December only. That way you knew who your players were going to be in the spring and the fall, and have the signing date go back to February like it did in the past. Yeah. And put some caps on this NIL, because it's just crazy.
It is. It's ridiculous, but that's. I guess I want to say maybe that's what the times today are, but I don't know that they're that good. I don't,
Yeah.
When you were in school, you were glad to get enough for college tuition.
Hey, I was happy.
Scholarship.
I was happy to. Of course, I won't tell you what we called it, but all the athletes ate at Woodmore, just down from the athletic dorm was I, and then there was H, and then I think across the street, Woodmore was the cafeteria we all ate at. But you were talking about the water balloons thing that y'all did. We had, back in the day, there was the old vinyl records and stuff. We would have vinyl wars with H Dorm, and you throw them like frisbees. I mean, if somebody got hit by one, it would hurt.
Yes,
but
it would.
But it was we threw vinyl records at each other. So it just shows you how we needed some additional activities. I guess
you need a little entertainment. not that you could have opened up any of those
Textbooks.
Textbooks.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think that's a part of today's college sports, though. The major athletes we're talking about are getting their money aren't going to classes, so they're leaving maybe with money, but they're not leaving with the degrees.
Right.
And I guess colleges have profited off of those teams doing well, and now the kids are getting something for it, but they're not. At the end of the day, Nico never went to class at UT, and he left there with a few general credits, I believe, but nothing of substance. And that's a come in enrolled early, and he's leaving with nothing.
Making the money he's making, though, he probably figures he could get by without having to learn what's in the books.
Yeah.
I look back at all these. I paid attention to the Titans a little bit over the years, and what was it, Vince Young, the kid from Texas, made all that money and then was a flop, and I believe he's in bankruptcy now, or was in bankruptcy. So, they a lot of them get a lot of money, but they blow it pretty quick, unfortunately.
Maybe one thing they need to learn in college is how to manage that money.
Yeah.
Well, they always rely on somebody else. They leave mom and daddy and then find another mom or daddy that manages their money, and they end up stealing it.
And I guess
or wasting it.
Yeah.
Making what they're making, they could afford to pay somebody else to manage
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, what other famous or infamous basketball stars do you recall in your 51 years, other than Fly?
Well, let's see. There was Cisneros. There was Scott.
Sleepy Floyd, I thought
Sleepy.
was a talented athlete, and Martin was a heck of a guard.
I always liked Austin Clark. He wasn't all that great, but I liked Austin. He was a good kid. He went on and coached at Byrdstown at one time.
Of all the teams that used to come into Murph, the one I thought was fascinating was Murray State, because they never were normally that big, but they could shoot the lights out of the long ball, and I think that's still one of their characteristics. But the few times they have made the dance, they've always lived and died with the threes.
Well, and that's something else that has changed the game a lot, is a three-point shot.
Right.
You remember Jimmy Montgomery that played at Kittrell?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Now, of course, Jimmy shot from the corner, and if those were three-point shots, man, he would have been way on up there. He already is with the 2-point, but that's where he shot from.
Yeah. Well, Smyrna had a kid that did that as well back in my day, and of course I've drawn blank on his name, but yep, the 3-point shot back in the day would have been huge.
There were some high school coaches down.
They called him Monk, didn't they?
Montgomery called him Monk.
Yes, sir.
He got a full scholarship to Auburn.
Right.
But I think he only stayed 1 year. I think he flunked out after that. Was back when they had to go to class.
Had to go to class. Yeah, not anymore.
He's legendary.
Oh, yeah.
What about with you being an official scorer? Did it come with perks? So, like, let's say when Elvis came and played at Murphy Center, were you able to get those special tickets?
No, I paid $10 a ticket just like everybody else
so
did.
You didn't even get the perks.
Oh no, there's no special perks. And people always say, "Oh, I wish I could sit where you sit," but really and truly, sitting at floor level is not that great of a seat to me. If I was going to watch a game, I'd want to be about 8 or 10 rows up, because you're seeing everything floor level wise, and you can't really tell how plays are developing or anything like that, but the atmosphere is there, and We have never had coaches get real upset with the scorers table, which I guess we've been blessed at. Of course, I guess they get upset with the officials sometimes, but not with the scorers table. We've had some good people at the table. Bobby Gardner, I said. Larry Talbert was PA for years. John Rice is doing it now. Larry Counts, of course, worked at the university and then left there and went with TSSAA, but he has done the scorebook for the last 2 years, and Larry's a good one. So we've had a good crew. The stat crew is good. It's kind of we all know each other a little bit, and it helps out a lot just to get along well.
Not that MTSU plays a lot on TV, but do you watch a lot of the games on TV now with these official reviews? It just seems like it's taking something away from the game, because every time we turn around, there's an intermission where the officials are re-looking at a play to if that basket's good or not good, or if that was a foul or not a foul, and they'll 2 minutes will go by, and then they'll take a TV timeout, and then they'll call a foul on somebody from 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
When I watch a game on TV, I've gotten to the habit where I'm not watching the play as much as I'm watching the officials and try to identify them to see if we've had them at Murphy.
Oh, have you really? Okay.
You know, really. A good friend of mine, Tom Eads, who grew up in McMinnville. Tom and I worked high school basketball together. Tom went on to work college, and he worked the Final Four 5 times. Worked the championship game 1 time, and now lives up in Kentucky and has had some health problems. So one night, I'll tell you this story, and I don't remember who the official was. Anyway, we used to have to be there an hour before game time to meet with the officials. They don't do that anymore, and I miss that. I wish we could, but anyway. One of them, and it may have been Tom, but anyway, one of them said they were complaining about they had fluid on their knee. And said, man, I sure wish I could get this fluid taken off. Well, I went out in the crowd, and there was Dr. Jordan. I said, Dr. Jordan, this so-and-so would like to get fluid pulled off. He said, well, if he wants me to do it, I can do it. And he went down at halftime and drew that fluid off right there during halftime of the ball game. Fisher came back out and worked the rest of it.
Wow.
That was something.
I bet.
That would never happen today.
Yeah.
Probably
no
not.
way.
Probably not. No.
You know, you said about being level with the floor. Been to the Preds several times since they've been there, but only sat on the level with the ice once, and that was the worst seat in the house. The only time I could tell what was going on was when they were on that end of the ice. Everything else was blocked either by coaches, players, or officials.
And can you imagine sitting at the scorer's table at Vanderbilt where you're actually below floor level?
I can't. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, I can see.
I kind of agree with you. I've sat on the ice, and I've sat on the top row where we were beating on the metal at the back last seat. There's nothing left. You could see the score. Well, the sound doesn't make it to you. You're higher than the speakers of Bridgestone Arena.
Yeah.
So if somebody scores, and it's like a 2-second delay to where the crowd noise will finally hit you. So I've done both.
Takes a little while. I guess you'd like to be about 12, 14 rows up, wouldn't you?
I like those club seats about where they are. And, you know, you got a little room to stretch out. That never happens, but it would be nice if I could.
You'll have to find you a good friend. Maybe Wayne will buy one of those one year.
Well, he's going to use his paycheck from here and then probably get us one. You listen to Butch Campbell. He's the Murfreesboro City Schools chairman and official scorer for MTSU basketball for the last 51 years. But we're going to take our second break and be right back with you in just a minute.
The Murfreesboro Fire Rescue Department is going door to door asking for your help in the 2025 special census. The only information they will ask for is your street address, the number of residents living at that address, and their first and last names. That's it, and it only takes a couple of minutes to complete. Information gathered for the special census provides funds to improve our public safety division, and that benefits the entire community. You can also fill out the special census online at murfreesborocensus.com.
Growing in Christ with life and athletic skills.
So we teach God's Word at everything we do to implant it in them so that they understand that the only way to get through the world is with God on their side.
First Shot founder and executive director Andy Herzer.
Our focus is on our inner city here at Patterson Park.
From academics to athletics, First Shot's focus is toward building a stronger, more courageous spirit to face opportunities and obstacles that our youth confront every day. To find out more about First Shot, go to firstshottn.org.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it. Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/55 to learn more. With 24 monthly bill credits and 2 new lines with autopay for well-qualified customers plus taxes, fees, and $35 per line connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Contact us plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
And welcome back to the third and final segment of Tuesday Mornings with Rick and Wayne. And I didn't get your finger that time, Brian. So
pointer
finger, dude, not the other one. So, but we are happy to, and it's been a lot of fun having Murfreesboro City School Board Chairman and coach, and just all around good guy, community leader, Chairman Butch Campbell, and Butch Vaughn is also a good friend, so I was been kind of intimidated that I might accidentally call you Chairman Vaughn and get myself in trouble.
That has happened more times than you can. In fact, I'll tell you this story, and this is a true story. When I was at Walter Hill and Butch was at Central Middle School, principal, I had a lady call me one night. She thought she was talking to Butch Vaughn, I guess. Oh, she gave me the riot act. I mean, about something her child did not do, and they accused him of doing it. So, and I said, well, I'll tell you what, ma'am, why don't you come by in the morning about 8:30? We'll sit down, we'll talk about it. All right. Well, I called Butch the next morning, and I said, Hoggy, that's what we called him in high school.
Sorry, what now?
Hoggy.
Hoggy.
That's what we call him.
Okay,
I said, Hoggy,
I need to recall.
Miss so-and-so's going to come see you this morning about 8:30. I just want to let you know about it.
Now, that's what you call a good friend, because I've got several that would not have warned me that they just walked in and then there you go.
I got a city schools question. With the voucher passing, have y'all seen Murfreesboro City Schools? Have y'all seen an impact on that yet, or is it just not been there long enough?
The charter school, we lost about, I don't know really the number of kids that we had in city schools that went to the charter school. But now over half of those have come back this year to the city school. The voucher bill, I'm not in favor of it, and I'll tell you why. I don't care if you send your kids to a private school, it doesn't bother me a bit, but I don't think you need to use my tax dollars to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the voucher, if it's $7,000 roundabout, the low-income family cannot afford the other $7,000 or $8,000 that it'll cost to go to a private school.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what it's going to benefit is going to benefit those that are already in the private school, the middle class or the wealthy class, because they're going to get that $7,000 supplement. But it's not going to do anything for others.
The other problem with that is when the lottery came into effect, my best recollection is all of the universities and the colleges in Tennessee all increased their tuition because the lottery was going to pay, so much towards their education. So on your point, all these private schools will also increase their tuition because they know their present attendees are going to get this money from the state. So all of the socially economically disadvantaged students that may have had a shot, that shot went out the window because of the increase in tuition, I suspect.
My understanding is that the private schools, I'm going to say like Middle Tennessee Christian, Providence, Franklin Road, and others in Murfreesboro have all agreed that they will participate in the voucher program. Now, what that means to them, I don't know, because, well, I talked to a fellow the other day, and I said two of his grandchildren were going to a private school, and I said, now, what does it cost? Oh, it's about $2,400 a month. That's pretty steep for anybody, but particularly for the low income, they can't afford that. So I don't know. It's, as John Bragg used to say, it's politics and politicians, and I agree.
So I apologize that I don't know the answer to this question. Is there a hold harmless clause attached to this voucher? Do you know, Rick? Because if a child goes to private school and that doesn't work out for them, and they get to come back to the county school no matter what.
That's right.
And if the private school or the home school or the charter school doesn't do a good job on that for that child, and if he comes back or she comes back behind, the testing for that child still goes against the county district, even though that county may have not had an opportunity to participate in that child's education.
The county has not educated them, but they're going to suffer the consequences if there are consequences. On the other hand, if the child does well, they're going to do.
Amen.
But
yeah.
Does the private schools do the same testing system that the TCAT and everything else that the county schools do?
They don't have to, I don't think.
I don't think they are either. So
yeah,
you're doing a disservice for your child to mix the two together. You're either going to have to go one way or the
what
other.
I hope, and I haven't read the bill, but you would think that if they're getting state money, that there would be state testing.
There's not.
That's negligence on the part of the assembly.
I think they left it open to where you're able as a school. So if you're a Christian school with Christian values, that you're able to follow those values and pick your curriculum that meets with those values, versus county schools mandated not to have that Christian portion of that in your everyday schooling, that they got a certain way they got to do it. But I think that ties to the federal money as well, that you got certain hoops you got to jump through to get that check from the federal government.
Well, that's been the knock on the federal education department because of all the mandates that are tied to the federal money, even though the federal money is about 11% of the total budget.
Yeah.
So, but having said that, then you have a state Department of Education that does the exact same thing with mandates. So it's just you're just getting beat up almost any way you go.
Well, if you're accepting state money or federal money, like you say, you've got to adhere to their rate. Back when TCAP testing 3 or 4 years ago was such a big deal and we were having so much problem with it, our board wrote a letter to the State Department saying we did not want to give the second half of the testing. And they wrote back and they said, that's fine, if that's what you want to do, but you won't get your state funding. Well, you got to have it.
You want to keep the doors open anyway.
To tie your hands, and that's...
It's like, Mom, can I have a cookie? No, you can have a cookie. Okay, I won't have a cookie.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
Well, thank you for your years of leadership.
Well, thank you, Wayne. You've been in public office and public eye, and Rick has too. So it takes all of us together, and that's what we're trying to work to do. We have to educate the little ones, just like Brian Barrett and all those.
Well, we want what's best for them.
Well, we try to do it.
God bless you.
Thank you,
Chairman.
sir. Appreciate it.
Hope everybody enjoyed our show today, and we'll be back with you again next week as usual. Have a great day.
WGNS, Murfreesboro, Smyrna.
The Murfreesboro Fire Rescue Department is going door to door asking for your help in the 2025 special census. The only information they will ask for is your street address, the number of residents living at that address, and their first and last names. That's it, and it only takes a couple of minutes to complete. Information gathered for the special census provides funds to improve our public safety division, and that benefits the entire community. You can also fill out the special census online at murfreesborocensus.com.